What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am back with a video this time once again. We're looking at the 2022 NBA playoffs. And today, I'm going to give my opinion as why I think Milwaukee will repeat as NBA champions when it's all said and done. So with that being said, let's get right into the video and not waste any time. Now, I do want to preface one thing. When predicting NBA champions, injuries, fatigue, some player choking, that can all happen. But when it comes to the Bucks, I am 95% sure they're going to make it to the finals and win. And a big reason for that happens to be Giannis Antetokounmpo, the best player in the entire NBA. Yes, better than KD, better than Steph, Embiid, Jokic, anyone you want to throw out there. From a two-way perspective, playing both ends, Giannis' impact supersedes everyone. On the offensive end, he averages 30, shooting 55%, he can pass the ball, he's efficient, and when it comes to the defensive side, he can guard 1 through 5, grab 12 to 15 boards, and if he has to late in games, he can make clutch blocks, clutch steals, and just really good clutch defensive plays that are overlooked and underrated. And in the past for Giannis, one of his big-time flaws has been fourth quarter scoring and late game play. But after last year's playoffs, his fourth quarter play descended to another level. And looking back at last year in the fourth quarters, he averaged 7.5 points per game, that was the second highest average, on 56% shooting. This year for the 2022 season, he averaged 8.4 points per game, that was third in the NBA, on once again 56% shooting. And I know when you think of clutch time play late in games, you think of Kyrie, Dame Lillard, DeMar DeRozan, all the big name guards who are flashy and pull up from 3 in the mid-range. You don't think of Giannis Antetokounmpo. But when it comes down to it, the facts bear it out, Giannis in the fourth quarter is one of, if not the best players in the entire NBA. And one thing I am very big on is precedent and NBA history. And as the old saying goes, history repeats. And looking at Giannis compared to the other all-time greats, there's some pretty big similarities. And one thing I do want to look at is the big-time superstars since 1990 after their first championship as well as Finals MVP. Those players are Jordan, Hakeem, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, as well as KD. All those players after their first Finals MVP made it back to the finals and won the championship again. Jordan 92, Hakeem 95, Shaq in 01, Kobe in 2010, LeBron in 2013, and KD in 2018. And still focusing on those players across the board universally, I would say they were all the best player in the NBA when they won their second championship and second Finals MVP. And as you guys know, for the NBA, it's a superstar league unlike any other sport. The NFL, you can have a great quarterback and still not even make the playoffs. In baseball, you can have the best pitcher, the best hitter, and still not even win 75 games. Basketball in its own right is unique, and a superstar in this sport can have immense impact on both ends of the floor. And looking through NBA history once again, since 1990, 21 out of 32 championships, the best player in the world was on that championship squad. And 27 times those teams had a top 5 player. Granted, there are some exceptions like the 04 Pistons, the 06 Heat, the early 90s Pistons, but even looking at those teams, one thing they have in common is that when it comes to defensive rating, 4 out of the 5 teams were top 3 in that stack. So if you want to get really simplistic, having the best player in a top 5 defense means making the finals and winning it happens 80% of the time in the last 32 years. And even looking at defending NBA champions, the stats once again favor the Bucks heavily. As since 1990, 50% of those teams have made it back to the finals, with only 5 of them not winning the championship. So if you are a betting man like me, looking at NBA history, taking all the context into play, I think the Bucks have a very good shot of winning the championship. And even going further than NBA history, just looking at the NBA today and the best big threes in the playoffs, I would say the Bucks have the best big 3 out of the entire NBA, with Giannis, Middleton, as well as Jrue Holiday. And when it comes to a 2A perspective, I think it's an absolute blowout compared to the other big threes. And one thing I love about this trio is their experience and have championship pedigree. You can't measure that in stats, defensive rating, offensive rating. There is no metric to measure how much confidence you have for being the defending champion and the other teams having to knock you off your pedestal. And one thing I absolutely love is continuity and consistency. Giannis, Drew, and Chris, they're all proven playoff performers, and of course last year won the championship. Looking at Booker, Ayton, and CP3, the same thing goes. Tatum, Brown, and Smart, they played 5 years together. Even Curry, Dre, and Clay, they have 3 championships, and once again are very experienced. The one big three in the Eastern Conference, who I would say is a threat, is the Brooklyn Nets. The only problem is, they have very little of any continuity with their entire roster. Of course, KD and Kyrie, they can combine for 60, even 70 points, but at the end of the day, can your role players support them and win you that game? My personal belief, no. And looking through the entire NBA's history, how many teams have won a championship putting it together at the last minute like Brooklyn? If you can find a team that did that, who didn't have championship experience, go ahead and prove me wrong. But until it happens, I'm under the belief you have to have continuity as well as consistency with your entire roster and especially your big three. And speaking of the number 3, when it comes to late game playoff play, 3 things I always look at. Number 1, can you get big stops in crucial moments? This Bucks team and their big 3 can definitely do that, and they're proven. The second thing, can you execute late and get your shots from where you want to? Chris Middleton in that respect is proven, and Giannis himself is proven in last year's finals. Also, Drew Holiday is a big-time clutch player on both ends. And the last thing, can you limit mistakes and not beat yourself? Looking at Giannis, Drew, and Middleton, they're all high-usage players. But one thing I love, they don't turn the ball over or make crucial mistakes in the clutch time moments. And actually Milwaukee this year, when it came to clutch time games, last 5 minutes and 5 points, they won the 5th most games at 24. When it came to field goal percentage, they were 4th, 3 percentage, they were 3rd, and plus minus 5th. I don't love all those stats, but it paints a pretty good picture of how good Milwaukee is late in games. And much like me, if you don't love those stats, look to last year's playoffs. Game 7 versus Brooklyn, Giannis, he had 40 points, he had 7 in the 4th quarter, Drew had 9 in the 4th, and Chris had 11. Also, Game 6 versus the Hawks in the conference finals, many forget Giannis wasn't playing this game. But Drew Holiday stepped up big time, having 32 points, and Drew Holiday had 27. And of course, when it came to the NBA Finals in Game 6, Giannis exploded for 50 points and closed out the series in dominant fashion. Now, for the final part of the video, I'm looking at my crystal ball and predict the future. In the first round, Milwaukee, they play the Bulls. I think that series will be over in 5, possibly 4. In the second round versus Boston or Brooklyn, I think it's going to be Boston. They'll beat them in 6 games in a hard-fought series with 2 great defensive teams. And when it comes to the conference finals versus the Heat or 76ers, I think the Bucks top to bottom have better two-way players and just less flaws in the roster. Miami's overall scoring, from what I've seen, it's pretty shaky and they have some pretty big lulls. Same thing for Philadelphia. If Maxi's not cooking, Philadelphia's offense stagnates, with Embiid having to score 40 to even compete in the game. And please, don't even get me started on James Harden and how much he's fallen off in this year's playoffs. And lastly, when it comes to NBA Finals, saying injuries don't happen, I think in this series, they'll once again play Phoenix in a thrilling 7-game matchup. Once again, withholding injury as Devin Booker pulled his hamstring Game 2 versus New Orleans. If D-Book's out, I'll have Golden State making it to the finals, with Milwaukee also beating them in a thrilling 6-game series. So that is the end of the video. My overall prediction for the Bucks and why this year, once again, they'll win the NBA championship. Given them having Giannis, having a great big 3, being a top defensive and offensive team, and above all else, having championship pedigree, as well as confidence. As always, thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.